So I met Brad probably 10 years ago now. I definitely think that he saw almost like a mini version of him in me. You know, someone who's down to scrap, who's down to entertain. Fighters these days can perform just to win, but you also have the fighters that perform to put on a show.
All three judges score this contest 29-28 for the winner by unanimous decision, Muhammad Hillman Naimov.
That for me was probably one of my hardest, but it wasn't because I lost the fight. It was because I knew that I walked into that fight not mentally in the game. I suffered really bad anxiety that week, not to do with the fight, just in general. And I knew that I wasn't wanting to be there, if that makes sense. You know, on fight day, if someone had come along and said to me, oh, do you want to fight? I would have said, nope, you know, I don't want to fight today. I'd rather have a day off and just go home and see my family. But in this sport, you can't. A lot of people are kind of blaming the ref, and you know, they're blaming the outcome of the fight on kind of his side from the, you know, the cheating, if you like. Deep down, I was also very disappointed in myself. You know, I know that I'm a lot better than the guy that performed that night. I know that I'm way better than Mohammed Naimov.
It all depends on how things are going at the time and the outside pressure that's being put on. Sometimes we have good fight camp, sometimes we're fighting through some illnesses and some injuries, and it just depends on that day.
So I've suffered with anxiety for 8 years now. I've been diagnosed with. Unfortunately, it came at one of the most important times of my life, 3 days before the fight, and you know, obviously being in Abu Dhabi, I wasn't with my family. You know, I didn't have my wife, I didn't have my mum, you know, I didn't have the people that I'm used to being able to talk to and open up to. And yeah, it just proves that fighting is it's you against yourself. You know, you do have an opponent come fight night, but at the end of the day, it's your own battles that you've got to deal with. So, you know, I was very fortunate that I did have my dad, so I did have someone who was able to kind of, you know, still make the fight happen, because if I didn't have him, maybe I wouldn't have even turned up on fight night, you know. Sometimes when you're in that dark place, you know, you're no good to anyone. That's what breaks my heart, you know. I could have done with that win bonus, you know, I could have brought that back to my family. I'm having a little girl on the way now, so, you know, it would have done me a lot of favours, but yeah, I feel like I mentally defeated myself before even stepping into that octagon that night.
No, I think we didn't go that mad or nothing, but
You know, I have OCD, I've been diagnosed with that. I've got very bad OCD and I suffer with anxiety, and the two kind of thrive off each other. And I have what I would call dark cloud days or weeks. You know, I've actually had some times where it's been a month at the most, but I'm just not with it. You know, there's nothing that I want to do at all. I just want to literally sit in my bed and crawl up and just not do anything. So I'm very fortunate that, you know, I've got my dad, who's my head coach, so he's always in the gym with me. I've got Brad Pickett, you know, he's like another father figure to me. I've got Ashley Grimshaw, you know, I've got Barry Healy. I've got all my coaches in the gym, who I trust my life with.
My name is Barry Healy. I'm a professional boxing coach, and I've been training Nathaniel for 3 years. Yeah, we're good friends. He listens as well when I train him, or if I give him advice from sparring, sometimes he listens. But yeah, he's a good friend as well. He's a good friend, yeah. We're the same age, you know what I mean? Like, we're a year apart and stuff, so. And it's different, like for me, with my professional boxers who I train 5 times a week, you know, it's a lot more serious, a lot more strict, because I'm their head coach and stuff. But with Nathaniel, I just train him once or twice a week, so that gives us a bit of freedom to be friends as well.
I'm one of these people that I don't necessarily talk to everyone about my insecurities and worries, because I kind of have my couple of people that I talk to, and that's all I need. You know, I don't need to tell the world about them. You know, I've got some of my best mates are in the gym, and all my coaches. You know, it really is like a family now. You know, it took me a long time to find this team. Now that I've got the right team behind me, you know, I think I can go all the way in this sport. Coming off a loss, it pisses you off, you know. Now me, when I'm pissed off, I train a lot better. You know, when I train with almost anger inside of me, you know, I train better. And, you know, my daughter's unfortunately dealing with a health condition that no one can do anything about. You know, she's not even born yet, but she's got something called CDH, and that's pissed me off. You know, that's something that I have no control over. I can't take it away from her. You know, she's the one dealing with it. Right. Do I go back and put it in the bin, or do we leave it here and remember and then pick it up? No, oh, I'm not carrying this round on the whole thing, am I? We'll go back. This dog don't get tired. But like, he's not a problem, mate. Like, you know, when someone comes round the flat, yeah, he's a little bit full on, but I mean, nothing that no one doesn't mind, you know. At least he's trying to give him a cuddle. Come on in this way. So what I like about coming out here is usually every morning before training, it's just me and him anyway. And it's like meditation. Do you know what I mean? I can't sit still and meditate, so I come here, you know, walking through like in this sort of foresty bit, you know, just us, no other dogs about, no other owners.
I mean, we've had it where I've been hungover from the day before, but I'd like to get up early, get out, get fresh air in, and just come for a nice dog walk, and you feel a lot better.
Before I start the day, it's like quite nice to come in here and just zone out, and obviously spend time with my fur baby.
It's non-stop basically. Nathan's always training. He's either dieting, he's non-stop, so yeah, it's wild.
Come on then, feet. Yes. Come on. Ooh.
I mean, all my friends say, do you get scared when he fights? And I try to give it all the big one and say, oh no, but until you actually go to one of his fights, I think the nerves kick in when he comes out, and yeah, I'm just on the edge of my seat.
I guess it's almost like getting used to being a parent. You know, if your kids going to school, you've got to get up and get the kids ready. You've got things to do. Same with him. You know, if I don't take him out for a walk, you know, he's going to be all over the place. If I don't feed him, if I don't give him water, he's going to die. So it gives me structure in my life, and that's what I like. You know, I like routine. Go on in. Good boy. Yeah, he's perfect for my mental health. You know, he gives me routine and stuff. So if you haven't, buy a dog. Come on, good boy. Out. Out. Come on. Yeah, it's been a bit of an emotional roller coaster at the moment. You know, this was just before Christmas, so 100% when we found out the news, you know, that was the worst day of my life, because, you know, this is supposed to be a happy time. This is my first child that I've got coming, and now I've been told that, you know, she's got the fight of her life and she's not even here yet, so.
It's something that we never expected to happen to us. I know it sounds so cliche, but until you go to a scan and them tell you really bad news, it just turned our world upside down.
And it just started off being this, you know, oh, there's a little something that we've seen on the scan, we've got to look into it. Then when I went to the hospital, the doctors had got it wrong and said that it was 40% survival rate, and that, do we want to terminate? And it was like, this just hit me out of nowhere.
It's like you couldn't even talk about it because it was just so emotional. I think I went to a shop with my friend and we bought like a teddy, and I came in and I said, oh, look, I got a teddy for the baby, and he just broke down, and I felt really bad because I set him off, but like I said, it's nice that we've had each other and we're going through it together.
You know, I had no kind of idea that this was life-threatening. Obviously, me and my wife were in bits, and when we went to this little back room, the nurse come running in, said they got it mistaken. It was 90% survival rate, which is a massive difference, you know, so obviously that was a little bit of a mood lift.
If anything, it's made our relationship stronger. Although, like, we have our family and friends who support us, I don't think anyone understands until, like, you're in that situation and it's your baby.
When I had the news come, I was an angry little man, you know. I was driving around in my car thinking like, come on, someone give me some road rage, you know, I just need to let it out. And thank God they didn't, you know, because I don't want to get into trouble, you know, but I had to go to the gym, and what did it for me was lifting weights. You know, I started lifting weights heavy, putting some heavy metal music in my ears, and I let all my frustration out on the barbell.
Good, on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Good, on 5.
Having them issues and those things that are out of my control, I honestly can say I've lit a fire inside me.
Hold on. Good. 5 reps. 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I'm enjoying training. You know, obviously I've kind of said to the UFC, look, I've got some stuff going on at the moment with my daughter. You know, I kind of think that maybe it's right that I just get her sorted first. You know, once she's born, then I'll look at fighting. And, you know, I think as a man, I need to put my focus fully on her and my wife. So every fight now I feel like is for her. You know, obviously in the UFC you get double pay if you win. So the wins are very important. You know, I've got people that I need to fight for. So, you know, it's not about me anymore. I can't be selfish. Instead of thinking about that money now going in my back pocket for a new watch or some new clothes, you know, I've got her to think of. I need to get a bigger house, you know, I need to put a nice roof over her head, and yeah, you know, I'm training with a lot of anger inside me, and I'm hoping that I'm going to use it to become the best fighter on the planet. With the stuff that I've got going on at the moment with my daughter, you know, it's very hard for me to commit to a date for the UFC. I need competition, I need something to train for, I need something to focus on, and this is what I love. So Polaris came about, and it just made sense to go on there, you know, practice against one of the best guys in the country, Mason Jones.
Mason, the Dragon!
He is a former UFC fighter, former double Cage Warriors world champion, black belt in judo, black belt in jiu-jitsu, so you know he's got all the credentials, he's been there, seen it, got the t-shirt, and what better guy to go up against?
You have one new message. To listen to your messages, press 1. For
You alright, Ben? I thought I'd let you know first, mate.